Hey everyone, Survey Future here, and today we're looking at a pedalboard. This is my pedalboard. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Actually, I think there's very few like this one, because it's a bit weird, as you can see. Now, I won't be going into too much detail on everything, because I want to do a little series about how I've got to this particular setup, but I just wanted to share a little bit, give a little bit of context. Need to make something, right? So the setup we have right now is we have the JDXA connected through the patch bay through the looper pedal. So that's actually pedal 1. It's the Electro-Harmonix 22500 looper. I chose this because it was pretty much available and it does everything I want and way more than I need. It's currently in front of the pedalboard, so the signal goes from the JDXA into the looper, into the pedalboard, and this is handy for demoing stuff basically, because you can just hit the button, and if it's actually a patch with a loop in there, which this doesn't seem to be, you will actually get a loop. Alright, so that's our very first pedal. We're just going to ignore that for a second, and we're just going to get back to this little board here. First off, I think it's very important our aesthetics, of course. Probably the most important thing of any pedalboard. So this pedalboard has a little party trick. If I actually turn off the lights, which I can do quite easily if it's within reach, I can do this. Now it's way too freaking dark, so I can't actually see what I'm doing. That's fine, everything is fine. No need to panic quite yet. Maybe panic a little bit. Hey ho! How's that for a party trick, huh? So yeah, it's neon and it's blacklight reactive, which I think is pretty cool. It's a damn shame there's not that many pedals that are actually blacklight reactive, so it's pretty much the polychrome, which does a little bit of glowy bits. Aside from that, it's mostly the board that glows, but I still think it's a pretty cool party trick. So wanted to start off with that little visual thing, and let's turn on some lights again, so we can actually see what the hell is going on here. Actually, might leave it on. Does it work for the video? Not really. Alright, more lights. Let's get back into this thing. So this pedalboard is basically 3 parts. It's also home built, which I will get into a later video, and designed by me, myself and I, which means it's pretty specific, but I think it's pretty fun. So it's 3 parts. The bottom tray, this part here, is basically utilities. Then we have common effects, and that extends up to this point, which is basically the nice side. And then we have this side, which is pretty much the evil side. So that's basically the concept here. Kind of a light dark thing going on here. So let's start at the bottom right, which is where the signal starts, with utilities. Very boring, a tuner, because you need a tuner. And the polychrome is, according to reviews, very good and small. It's functional and not completely unimportant. It looks kind of cool. And it does this thing where it can tune multiple strings at a time, which is pretty dope if you're lazy in tuning. And it has the option to have the always on display. You can turn it off, but I think it's a cool thing to have something going on the pedal. Right on top of there you have a compressor, the Sculptor. I don't have any particular feelings about it. It's a compressor. It's mainly there to catch spikes when playing bass and even things a little bit out. I guess it works. It's my very elaborate review of that pedal. It works. I do plan on replacing it at some point, but it fits the size constraints I have on the board. As you can see, it's pretty size constrained. So yeah, it went on there. So we have tuner, compressor, and then we go straight into this beautiful little box, the tri-parallel mixer by Electro Harmonics. Now this thing is absolutely cool because basically it allows you to send in a signal, right there, and you can split it into 3 signals, which is awesome. And you can actually control quite a few parameters here and set a few modes. I've done an entire video on this. Basically I use this for parallel processing, obviously. And it also has a nice little trick here. It has a dry volume, which will come in handy a little bit later with some effects that can benefit from having a dry signal. From the parallel mixer, we have one output going into the pitchfork. That's actually the first channel, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, that works. Pitch shifter effect with some cool stuff. You can do mixes and stuff, but the most interesting feature of this pedal is actually the fact that you can split the output into a dry and a shifted version. Can also do some other modes. I use it for a dry and a shifted mode. The choice of this pedal was because I had thought of building a smaller board, and the neat thing was I could actually do the octave bass thing with just this pedal for switching between octave up and down, but also octave up and down at the same time, because you have the 2 outputs and you could send any of the signals to a separate distortion, which is very cool for that kind of effect. It's not that needed anymore now that I have the tri-parallel mixer, but well, I already own it, so it's on there. From here it goes into this thing, which is the defining factor of this specific pedal board. This is the board brain patchulator V2, I believe. This thing is kind of weird, kind of crazy. I've made some videos on it. Would highly recommend checking those out. It's basically a patch bay for your pedal board. Now, the small downside of this specific thing is that it is quite bulky. It might not look all that bulky if you look at it like this, but that is because most of it is underneath the pedal board, which is by design. I built the entire pedal board around this concept of being able to dig it in there. As you can see, I hope, the jacks extend right onto the front of this plane. So if you were to put it on top, it would actually reach all the way up to here, roughly, and up to there. So it's pretty bulky, probably up to here somewhere. So this is actually a very space-efficient way of integrating the patchulator into your board. Downside, of course, being that repatching it is an absolute nightmare because you need to take the entire thing apart. Upside is, it's pretty convenient like this. The patchulator basically allows you to route signals between pedals and create new pedal chains, which is very cool because it means that the order of all the other pedals actually isn't all that interesting, because you can change it. There are 2 exceptions to this rule, 3 technically. Everything feeds back into the input 1 and 2, or the returns 1 and 2 of the tri-parallel mixer. These go out to a noise gate, which is actually under the board because I ran out of space. So it's currently off, I think. Yeah, it's currently off. That's probably because I did some ambient things, and in that case the noise gate is a little bit annoying. But for chuggy stuff you can turn it on. It's a little bit fiddly, but it works. And after the noise gate it goes into the rave, which is a very cool reverb with pitch shifting ability. You can do pitch up, pitch down, and normal pitch. We will get to that in a second. And from there it goes into the polychrome, which is a flanger, but it also does client of course stuff, so it's very multifunctional. And then it goes out of the pedal board. So these are fixed in every chain. It's always out of here through the noise gate, into the rave, into the polychrome, out to the sound card interface thingy. Everything you see here is totally up to change. So let's actually delete what we have going on here. Always a little bit painful. And there we go. Let's create a through loop. Now I actually have to think a little bit. I think this is the one with the pitch shifter. That we are going to find out. That was correct. And this loop here is without the pitch shifter, I believe. If it works. Oh, it's off here. So that's the second channel. So unpitch shifted. And unpitch shifted with the option to pitch shift. Need to volume balance that. So what we have going on here is basically we can now patch things into things. And the way I've set it up is it goes from left to right on the top row. So it's Cirrus, then we have the lore, then we have the Carcosa, Dreadbox, and the last one is the plasma coil. So let's say we want to take this signal from the pitchfork and go to the Cirrus. So we need to patch out to the Cirrus and back. There we go. Nothing changed until we turn it on. Very cool reverb delay combination pedal. We can now move up, so if we want to go to the lore, we can patch it up one lane. There we go. Now we're on the lore. Now we can actually demonstrate the rave as well. Double reverbs is always a little bit much, but it's doable. And you can also turn on the walrus, which was actually already on. So that's pretty cool. This is always in the chain. Now the fun thing here is you can do a lot of combinations. So let's say I wanted to do a pitch shift up spacey thing. So I use the lore all the way wet. And we pitch it up. That's a whole lot of reverb. And we now want to add, for instance, the disorder. So again, the order is left to right. So we know that this is the Cirrus lore. Means that this is the Carcosa. And this one here is the Dreadbox. So let's go out to the Dreadbox. Let's go back. There we go. Turn it on. Turn this down a little bit. actually turn down the time on this a little bit because it's a bit much right now. And now we can actually or we can say we want to distort the upper frequencies as well. We just move it here. And now we're into the plasma coil. Quite fun. If we want less reverb, we can also turn the reverb. It's quite crispy. Pretty nasty stuff. So that's the pedalboard in a very high-speed fashion, just to show you a little bit of what I have going on here. Again, I want to do a little bit more of a more in-depth thing. Also, there's still some things to finish off. That's why I've been holding back on the video so far. It needs a front plate, for instance, and the pedals are still not attached, which is a little bit of a problem. And there's still some cardboard razors here and there, which kind of look, yeah, not so nice. Like that, for instance. I mean, focus. Yep, there we go. That's still cardboard, and there's cardboard under there, which is meh. It's not that pretty, and yeah, it definitely needs a front plate. But overall, it's not a bad look. I think it's quite a fun little thing. So look forward to more of this content. Just as a little bit of a disclaimer, I would highly recommend you don't go into pedals because it will leave you broke and always wanting for more. So it's definitely not recommended to start this this thing. Well, life happens, I guess. And if you have money to spend, you can do things like this, I guess. So that's pedalboard town. Maybe we should create a new channel for that, but I'm not nearly rich enough to do it. So yeah, that's it for this time. If you have any questions, leave them down below as per usual in the description and stuff. Follow me on Instagram, blah blah blah. You know the drill. See ya.